Hello and welcome to the Art of Cooking with Sally Gooden. I am Wanda Threalkill, aka Sally Gooden. And today's episode I'm going to dedicate to my great niece, Aaliyah Jaton. She has been begging me for my macaroni and cheese recipe. So I was like, maybe today, since I'm getting prepared for my dinner, I will go ahead and show her how to make that macaroni and cheese that she loves. So today's episode will include not only macaroni and cheese, but another subscriber asked me to show how to make their meatloaf, and then I'm going to throw in those green beans so I can have a whole meal. Also today, our apron is by James Threalkill called Chef Power. So I'm giving Chef Power to my great niece so that she can now make her own macaroni and cheese. So here are the ingredients. Okay, we're going to begin our dinner with first preparing our meatloaf. So here I've already added the onions. Now I'm using some onions I cut up and froze just to save time. But you add your onions, and you also need 2 kind of whisk eggs. And I'm going to mix those in like that. Now, eventually I'm going to mix this in with my hand, but right now I'm just going to chop it in to break up the meat a little bit. Right. And now I'm going to add minced onions. Minced garlic, not onions. And we're going to add, I love these garlic roasted, red roasted tomatoes. Let me pour some of the juice off of that and pour that in. And we're going to mix that up. Now, I like red peppers, but you can use green peppers, you can use yellow peppers, whatever your preference is. Red pepper person. And I'm going to now mix my seasoning in here. I'm going to shake a little of this garlic and herb seasoning. And this is the pink Himalayan salt. You can use sea salt, you can use regular salt, salt to taste. Now, this is where I come in with my hand. These are wheat crackers that I have ground in a, as you can tell, I have ground in a blender. You can use breadcrumbs, you can use croutons or whatever, but I prefer the crackers in mine. And I used probably about a cup, which is probably about 1.5 sleeve of crackers. So you mix all of that in there with that. Okay, and you want to make it so it can mold. Now I'm going to put a little tomato sauce. Alright, going to pour a little of this in there. It looks like about a 1/2 cup. I'm going to mix this in. Let me use my hands. It's so much better. Now, we got that to where we need it to be. I'm going to add a little bit more salt. Now, Once you get this all mixed in well, you want to get a meatloaf mold. You want to mold your meatloaf. So what I do, that breadcrumb and those eggs is what's making that mold. You made to mold your meatloaf inside. Make a little loaf. That's where the name meatloaf comes from. So you make like a little bread loaf. And I like to use these foil loaf pans because, well, it kind of makes it easy to mold. See how all I have to do is stick my hands in between to make that loaf. Alright, once you get your loaf done, you're going to cook this in your oven on 375 for 45 minutes. Now the whole cooking process is going to take an hour because when you cook the first 45 minutes, then you're going to take it out. And I'm going to show you how we're going to mix the barbecue sauce and the tomato sauce to make the top covering, the topping for the meatloaf. This meatloaf is now ready for the oven. Okay, while our meatloaf is in the oven baking, I want to go ahead and make the sauce that's going to go on top of the meatloaf and put it to the side. So we're going to take some of the remaining of the tomato sauce, and we're going to take some of the herb and garlic seasoning, and most important, barbecue sauce. Now, I'm going to mix this together. And this makes a delicious topping for your meatloaf. And we're going to put this to the side. And after the 45-minute bake period, we're going to pour this on top. Let it bake for 15 more minutes. And then it can rest. Okay, after you drain your macaroni, rinse it off, you're going to put it in your pan. Now, you need the melted butter. I use the salted because at the end we're going to put salt after we taste. We may need salt, may not need salt. So we're going to use a little bit of the melted butter. And then I'm going to add this cheddar cheese soup. As much of it out of the can as you can. Mix that. And we're also going to use the 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to sprinkle it. That's going to help thicken it just a little, but not a whole lot, but just a little bit. You don't want it soupy. Mix that in. Now I'm going to mix in the cheese. Remember, y'all have 3 types of cheese in here. You can use any type that you want. I prefer 3 different kinds. I'm going to save some of that cheese to sprinkle on top, but just mix it in. I'm going to put a little bit more because I like mine cheesy. Really just kind of folded it in so they can get covered. All right, once you get it to this point, this is where you, now a lot of macaroni and cheese recipes have the eggs, but mine doesn't. Mine is heavy whipping cream in replacing the eggs with heavy whipping cream. We're gonna pour a little heavy whipping cream. That's probably about a cup so far. And that's gonna be really enough right there. So I'm gonna mix this in well, and then I'm gonna add a little salt and a little pepper. This time I'm using a little sea salt. About 2 little pinches of sea salt because the cheese and the butter already has salt. And this is a little black pepper or white pepper. You can use white pepper as well. I'm gonna mix those in really well. Alright. Now, final be to spread it out. And top it with more cheese. Alright, now we're going to bake this in the oven on 400 degrees for about 30 minutes, or at least to the little brown come around the edges. I like mine to get a little brown around the edges. So about 30 minutes on 400 degrees. Okay, now it's time to prepare the green beans. So I've heated my pot with some olive oil, and I'm going to take the smoked jowl and I'm going to kind of fry it a little bit first. You want to get it fried on each side a little bit. And that's just so that it'll release that smoked jowl flavor. Smoked jowl flavor. Pronounced jowl. And it's a type of bacon, a thick bacon that you can find in the grocery store. Some people use neck bones or whatever. I just prefer the smoked jowl bacon. So I'm going to let that go ahead. Okay, now our smoked jowl bacon is ready to the point that where I want it to be, a little brown. You're going to add the chicken broth. So I have 1 container of chicken broth. I'm going to use, actually I only needed to use about half of that. Half of the container of chicken broth. And I didn't mention earlier in my ingredients, but I do use 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to mix all this together a little bit, give it a little stir so the sugar can dissolve. Now, very important, you have ham base. Whatever brand you use, that's fine. I'm going to get me about 2 good scoops of this ham base in here. Stir that around. And I'm going to add my green beans and onions. Stir those around for a minute. And a little seasoning. Seasonings I'll be using will be the garlic herb seasoning. And just before I add the garlic salt, I want to kind of taste. I'm going to taste this broth. So see where you are in the broth, the seasoning part. So you want to taste that. And I'm only going to put like a couple of dashes. 1, 2 of that garlic sauce. Don't need that much because it's already really seasoned well. Now, I'm going to let this come to a boil. And then I'm going to turn it down on low and let it cook covered for 1 hour. And while I'm finishing up my green beans, here's a little message from the artist James Threalkill on this apron called Chef Power.
Hello, YouTube viewers, and welcome to The Art of Cooking with Sally Gooden. Thank you for visiting the channel. We greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel, hitting the thumbs up button, and sharing the videos. This particular apron is called Cooking Up a Storm, and it features a dancer inspired by the Alvin Ailey Dance Company and all the wonderful performances that they are known for. And so I again wanted to use some very exciting colors and textures to accent the subject matter of the apron. We look forward to seeing you next time and appreciate you once again visiting the channel, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Okay, now we've gotten our meatloaf out to this point where it's cooked, but we're going to drain any oils. We're going to drain out any oil that you have, any juices and oil. You don't need all that. And we're going to add our topping. So the topping was the mixture of tomato sauce and the barbecue sauce and the seasonings. I'm gonna pour this in there, and we're gonna have to pop this back into the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes. I want to let that kind of cling to the meatloaf. So we're gonna put this back in the oven for I'm gonna put it in there for 20 minutes. Okay, my macaroni cheese is ready to come out of the oven. And I'm going to continue to let that meatloaf cook a little bit. And that's the way you want it to look. And I'll show you how it looks served on the plates at the end of this video. Alright, our meatloaf is ready to come out of the oven. And it should look something like this. And you're going to have to let that rest for 10 minutes before you slice the meatloaf. Okay, now that everything is prepared, I have put it on a plate. So we have our macaroni and cheese, green beans, and meatloaf. And this can be any type of dinner during the week, or in my case, it would be a Sunday dinner for me. So I hope you all will hit the subscribe button. I want to reach 1,000 subscribers, so please spread the word. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you check out this apron, Chef Power. It just gave me the power to make macaroni and cheese, green beans, and meatloaf. See you next time. Bye.